Well, good day, everyone. It appears snow is spreading into regions that have not seen very much of it this year, including parts of West Virginia, and possibly even North Carolina. We will be covering that for you today. Additionally, the overall pattern is beginning to shift, which means we will start to see more significant snowfall out west, including in places like Utah, which has had a relatively quiet season so far. Things are certainly starting to change. I do believe more snow is on the way for those areas. That snowfall could also become quite heavy in parts of British Columbia and Alberta, and there are indications that this snow could genuinely intensify across this portion of North America. It is quite remarkable how we are starting to build what almost looks like a glacier across parts of Canada and the northern United States. We will discuss that in detail today. Let us begin by examining where the current advisories are located. This is something we have not seen yet this year. New winter weather advisories issued for northern North Carolina. They are also in effect for Virginia, and that does include the city of Richmond. It does not, however, include the Tidewater region down toward Hampton Roads, Norfolk, and over to Virginia Beach. This snow is expected to stay to your west. On the southern edge of this system, even in parts of Richmond, there could be some mixing with freezing rain. However, winter weather advisories are posted for a couple of inches of snow. This affects Lynchburg, the Hill City, back toward Roanoke, and Blacksburg. The advisory area extends down, though not quite to the Tri-Cities, but once you cross the Central Mountains, specifically on the east side, that is where we anticipate seeing the most significant snowfall. I would say that generally along and to the east of Interstate 77 is the area of concern. There could be a little bit of snow slipping to the west, but then as we look into southern West Virginia, some of this activity will creep a bit farther to the north. I will show you that on the forecast models in just a moment, but again, the heaviest snow is expected. I believe you will need to watch this region right here for some bands of snow that may try to develop as we move into this afternoon. It is something you do not see every day, my friends. In Winston-Salem, over toward Greensboro, and not quite reaching Raleigh, but Durham could see some wintry precipitation. The fact that we are seeing some snowflakes is always noteworthy in the Tar Heel state, though it is not a major event for the mountains here. However, we do have winter weather advisories extending to Asheville, and all the way down to the South Carolina line. And once you move up in elevation to the Cumberland Plateau, near Cookeville and over to Crossville, some snow is possible there in central Tennessee. That is east of Nashville and west of Knoxville. If you are traveling west on Interstate 40, you do gain some elevation in that area. Now let us turn our attention westward. There are some winter weather advisories for the snow that is currently falling from Tulsa to Oklahoma City and back toward Amarillo. This snow is moving eastward. The system producing this snowfall is the same one that will be pushing snow further east into the Virginia, North Carolina, and West Virginia region. Some lake effect snow is also still active. We have some winter weather advisories in place there. There are even winter storm warnings being issued up near Sault Ste. Marie as we get that wind fetch coming off of Lake Superior. But let's look to the north and west. This is quite interesting to see. Major winter storm watches are now being issued across western Montana and Idaho. Some areas in this region could receive 2 to 3 feet of snow over the coming week or so. It is also quite interesting to see this development. We have some significant snow falling not just there, but also farther south along the Idaho-Montana border, especially as we get up near the national parks. And in an area where we have not seen much snow this year. How about this? Winter storm watches are now out for the Wasatch Range east of Salt Lake City, with heavy snow expected in the mountains. Some locations could see a foot of snow or so. Then, as you move into Colorado, snow is expected there as well. You will have to get up to a fairly high elevation before you encounter the snow if you are heading east on Interstate 40. Therefore, the valley itself is not looking too bad from Grand Junction up to Glenwood Springs. However, the surrounding mountains and the higher mountainous regions will begin to see that snow. And then, of course, if you are traveling on Interstate 70, you eventually gain elevation near Vail, and as you cross the Continental Divide, you are going to encounter that snow, which could be heavy at times. That activity stretches both north and south along all of these regions that typically receive snow. So, winter storm watches are in effect across this entire area, and I believe there is going to be a lot more snow to follow after this system. Let us discuss it and I will show you where it is headed. This is the European model, showing that snow moving across the southern United States into Texas today. We are talking about the panhandle of Texas and into Oklahoma. That activity settles down as we head into this afternoon. After that, not much will be happening as we get into the afternoon hours, though there could be a little bit of snow. The European model does not show much here in parts of the Cumberland Plateau, but some rain showers are likely across the south. A little bit of light snow will be moving through parts of the prairies. This is a very weak system that will bring some light snow to cities like Winnipeg and eastward into Ontario. However, heavier snow is beginning to pick up across the west, specifically in Idaho and Montana. That snow could become very heavy indeed. We are also seeing the snow intensify here across Virginia, and we will talk more about that in just a second. As this system drops to the east, that snowfall could start to become quite significant. A cold Arctic air mass is dropping south, creating a bit of an upslope flow. Therefore, that snow could be heavy, and then more Pacific moisture will intersect with it. So, now we have some good convergence of the air, which means we will see good uplift, and I believe that means you are going to get precipitation. It is going to snow, and it is going to snow quite hard at times. That system then drops into the Rockies, and farther south into the Wasatch Range. And we are also watching this Alberta clipper. We are going to give them names this year, and we will call this one by its name. This particular one is coming from Alberta, and it is dropping south. It is not a Saskatchewan screamer or a Manitoba mauler. This is a true Alberta clipper. It is going to drop that snow from South Dakota into Iowa and the southern parts of Minnesota. And you know, it starts to weaken as it moves toward Chicago. I still think there's a chance for some snow there over the weekend in northern Illinois and northern Indiana, but it seems to fall apart as it drops to the south. So perhaps it is not the classic clipper that drops all the way in and then curves to the north and east. This one really just seems to die on the vine, so to speak. Cold high pressure is building into the Great Lakes. We are also bringing a great deal of moisture into the Pacific Northwest, and another clipper system is dropping south. I would call this an Alberta clipper as well. It is going to be a little farther to the north, placing snow into Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and the southern parts of Ontario. We are certainly going to get some snow here. It is also going to be cold, with temperatures well below freezing. That system has a chance of bringing a little bit of snow into the northeast. It is a clipper system, not a major storm. And behind it, another system is bringing more snow. We seem to be on repeat with this pattern. There is another one after that, and then perhaps a change toward the middle of the month. This is where it gets quite interesting. Some of the models are showing huge variables with outcomes that are just all over the place. We will get into that later as we get closer to that time frame. In fact, a long-range outlook will likely be coming out sometime over the next couple of days. So, please be sure to subscribe and come back if that interests you, as we will talk about what is left of the season and some of the long-range signals we are seeing. Now, this is a look at the GFS model. It is different, and honestly, the GFS has performed, in my opinion, so poorly lately, but I am going to show it to you. It takes this clipper system, if you will, and does something interesting here on the coast. It suggests we are going to get a little bit of coastal storm interaction here at the beginning of next week. I am not going to stop monitoring it, but it is something to keep an eye on. And that northwest flow continues. Let us talk about the snow, though, farther to the south and east. This is where, if you are tuning in today, you likely care about that snow picking up. Again, I believe this is the NAM model. I do like the NAM when it comes to determining precipitation types. Some light snow will be falling across parts of Kentucky today. That snow will start to get heavier as it moves into Virginia and West Virginia. I think that even though you may not be under advisories, you should watch this part of Kentucky, Virginia, and southern West Virginia for some snow. And then as that system moves east, some of that snow banding could become quite heavy here in central Virginia. So, we will have to see about that. Up towards Washington, D.C., it is going to be very difficult to get the snow that far north. But there could be some snow that starts to pick up. As we head into Friday morning, it could cause some problems too, in that area. It does not take much snow. I have seen massive pileups with just half an inch of snow that gets compacted at the right time and at the right temperature, and it might be actively falling at that point in time as well. Then this system moves east. Now, down into North Carolina. I think if you look very closely here, especially for places like Greensboro and back toward Winston-Salem, some of the precipitation will be starting as, a little bit of rain, perhaps switching to freezing rain, and then possibly ending as some snow. I'm trying to pull up the map here and get into North Carolina a little bit closer for you. There we go. So, up towards Mount Airy, I believe it will be mostly snow. You have a pretty decent elevation change there. So, I think you are all snow up there and into Virginia along the Blue Ridge. But once you get down into the Piedmont region, we are talking about Winston-Salem. For Greensboro right here, the NAM model has you starting off as rain. If you get just a little bit to the west of Winston-Salem, it is snow, then perhaps some mix, and then over to rain. So it is a very tight gradient. I think there is going to be a decent potential for a sharp cutoff across this area, where some will see snow, and others will see just plain rain, or barely anything at all. But once you get up into Virginia, that chance for snow starts to increase, especially even along these counties right here along the North Carolina-Virginia line. There is a decent chance of that snow, and then as it moves into the Tidewater region, again, Virginia Beach is here, Norfolk, Hampton Roads. Look at this, the NAM model tries to turn Hampton Roads over to snow. Do not let your guard down on this just yet. If you are watching from Williamsburg along the peninsula, or from Richmond, I believe we are looking at all snow. If you go north of there up to Charlottesville, it will be all snow. And up into Washington, D.C., snow there as well. Into Maryland, though, the thing is, most of this precipitation will be just to your south. You can see that fairly clearly here. But there will be a chance for some accumulating snow, although it does not look like a lot. Washington, D.C. is here, and Baltimore is here. Some of that precipitation is trying to creep up into Baltimore, and then into Delaware, and down the Delmarva Peninsula. Some snow is possible. Even the eastern shore of Virginia could see some snow once you get a little bit farther north. And then into New Jersey, the extreme southern part. Down into the southern portion of New Jersey. We might see a little bit of snow attempting to mix in, but that will be a thing of the past as we move into Friday evening. Now, let's take a broader view of the situation. As we have discussed, things are active in the mid-Atlantic. We are also tracking some more snow dropping into the Great Lakes region with that next weather system, bringing some cold air along with it, and that system will be moving right into Ontario. This means a little more snow is on the way for that area as we head into Saturday. Regarding snow totals from the National Digital Forecast Database, they appear quite modest. You might look at this and wonder what is happening. I do believe these numbers might be a bit underestimated, while some of the other forecast models could be a little too generous. However, we are still seeing a couple of inches showing up across Virginia. Farther north, into Washington, D.C., the forecast is calling for just half an inch of snow. I believe we should keep a close watch on this area, particularly here in Virginia, where we could see localized amounts of 2, 3, or even 4 inches of snow, simply because some data is pointing to that possibility. Meanwhile, a bit of lighter snow is expected farther west across Texas and Oklahoma today. We are specifically talking about the Panhandle regions, not down toward Dallas or further to the east. This is the latest information from the European forecast model. Alright, let's take a closer look, focusing on Virginia and the mid-Atlantic. As I mentioned, some forecasts showed about a half inch. The European model agrees with that for the Washington, D.C. area, but shows slightly higher amounts down toward Richmond. It is trying to show some bands of heavier snow developing, so that is certainly something we will need to monitor. For those of you in Northern Virginia, around Winchester, and those joining our live stream, please remember you can always rewind if you have missed anything. Out west, the snowfall is going to intensify across the Wasatch mountain range. This also applies to the Northern Rockies. Take a look at the snow forecast here in the Wasatch. It could really begin to accumulate again, with the potential for more than a foot of snow, especially as you go up in elevation near the ski areas toward Park City. Then, as we look at Colorado, we are also expecting more than a foot of snow in the highest elevations. Farther north, that snow is going to be flying in Idaho and Montana, and that snow is expected to become quite heavy over the next couple of days. Some locations, particularly in the highest elevations of Utah and Montana, could see 2 to 3 feet, especially at altitudes above 6,000 feet. There is significant snow on the way for this part of the country over the next several days and into next week. Furthermore, it is going to continue snowing across British Columbia and Alberta. Let us look at this forecast right now, which takes us through Saturday. We might see a little snow falling out toward Edmonton and Calgary. Back toward Vancouver, however, it will be far too warm for any snow. But up in the mountains, the snow is really going to begin accumulating. We are talking about the Canadian Rockies and along the coastal ranges of British Columbia. I want to let this map advance because you will want to see these numbers. This forecast is pushing out toward the 12th and the 13th of the month. Just look at this. 129 inches. It is almost unbelievable. We are even seeing 194 inches showing up here in Washington State, in the Cascades, and several feet of snow in the Canadian Rockies and the Northern Rockies of the United States. That also brings snow not just to the Northwest Territories, but even out onto the prairies. I believe there is simply a great deal of snow on the way with this pattern change we are observing. Let's zoom in for a closer look now. We will time out this precipitation as we move across the country. Here is the snow that will be falling as we head into Friday and Saturday, which begins to move eastward as our clipper system gets organized. However, we are going to see continued snow in the mountains with some lingering snow showers. We will see a bit of a break across Utah and Colorado, but more snow is headed for the Pacific Northwest. It will be too warm for snow in Portland and Seattle, But once you get up into the Cascade Mountains, that snow could start to get heavy as we move into Tuesday and Wednesday, up into British Columbia and the Canadian Rockies, near Banff and Lake Louise. We are expecting significant snow here, but not as much down toward Calgary and on the downwind side of the mountains. You can clearly see how the snow is concentrated in this higher elevation region, and that pattern continues through Thursday and Friday, which is when it becomes particularly active with this onshore flow. A great deal of moisture will be moving in, producing a lot of snow. Now, let's take a look at your temperatures for today as we move further east. There goes our light rain and light snow, moving off to the east through Tennessee and Kentucky today. We are also seeing a little bit of light snow across the Dakotas, as well as into parts of Wisconsin and Minnesota, as another reinforcing shot of cold air begins to move in. Then on Saturday, here comes the heavier snow, beginning to streak eastward, which could bring some snow into Nebraska and South Dakota. It is uncertain if Pierre will see any, but there is definitely a chance. There is a chance of some snow in that area. As this system attempts to slide to the east, it will begin to weaken somewhat. However, I believe there will be some snow along the southern Minnesota and Iowa border, and perhaps into the Chicago area again as we go into the weekend. After that, another cold blast of air moves in, which could produce a little bit of lake effect snow. It will be very interesting to watch this develop. Take note of where this high-pressure system is located. The European model is attempting to forecast a band of lake effect snow for Chicago, coming off of Lake Michigan. We will have to see about that. Then, we have another clipper system on the way, and another one right after that. Goodness gracious, just look at how cold it is today. These will be your high temperatures, barely getting into the single digits and teens. The low temperatures tonight will be quite frigid, falling to near or even below zero. You can see the white colors showing up on the map, which indicates those very cold temperatures. Then, as we head into tomorrow, it may be a little bit warmer, with temperatures at least reaching into the 20s in some areas. Texas will be a little cool as well, with highs in the 60s. We will be back into the 70s, however, across Texas and Louisiana as we head into Saturday, before another blast of cold air moves south. This will keep your temperatures quite cold. And my goodness, it is going to be even colder as we look toward the Great Lakes region, moving through the weekend and into the first part of next week. Further to the east, we have discussed this quite a bit, but there will be some snow showers in the northeast as well. There is that system moving through Virginia and West Virginia into the mid-Atlantic. It will not move very far to the north into Pennsylvania, the rest of New Jersey, or New York. Here comes more snow from a weak system moving through southern Ontario. We will also see a little bit of rain across the south, and that moisture is really just going to linger over southern Georgia and Florida. Then, that next clipper system approaches from the west. Here is a look at your temperatures. It is cold today, and it will be cold tonight across the northeast. We will see temperatures well below zero in the interior areas where there is some fresh snow on the ground. It is certainly a great start to the ski season across the northeast. You simply cannot argue with that. There is plenty of snow on the ground, and it is going to stick around, with high temperatures on Friday barely reaching the teens. It is also quite cold in the Ohio Valley, with highs only in the 20s. It will be a little bit warmer as we head into Saturday. On Sunday, it may also be slightly warmer the further south you are. However, it will remain cold across the Ohio Valley. In places like Columbus and Indianapolis, it is quite chilly there. And you should be prepared, because it is not going to warm up anytime soon. Another cold blast is on the way. Winter has certainly started. If there were ever any question, I understand some of you may not be seeing the snow you had hoped for, but I want to go back and reflect. When these patterns lock in, they truly take hold. It is quite remarkable to look back and remember we were talking about this cold air gripping much of the central, northern, and northeastern parts of the country as we headed into December. We were forecasting this back around the 10th, 11th, or 12th of November. It was somewhere around that time, perhaps even a bit before. We also saw that sudden stratospheric warming event developing around Thanksgiving. It did happen, and folks, this is the resulting cold air. The interesting thing is that there is another sudden stratospheric warming event anticipated in the coming weeks. We may get a temporary rebound in temperatures, but I believe there is more cold like this on the way. Winter is only just beginning. Officially, the winter season has not yet started. Meteorological winter, however, is here, having begun on December 1st, but the astronomical start to winter is still a few weeks away. And my goodness, it is starting off strong. This could be a sign of a challenging winter ahead. All right, that is all I have for you at this time. I will see you next time.